Hi, my name is Campbell Blick. I'm from Troop 6418, and this is my stage management portfolio on You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, written by John Gordon and composed by Clark Gessner. As a stage manager, I had a lot of responsibilities, but I was able to break them down into three main categories: communication, note-taking, and calling the show. For communication, my main goal was to make sure that there was constantly a good flow of communication happening through all aspects of the show, whether it be through different tech crews or different cast members. One challenge that we did face was a couple of miscommunications on transitions, such as Snoopy's house coming out or who was bringing on Schroeder's piano. To take care of these miscommunications, I called a creative team meeting, and we all made sure that we understood when stuff was supposed to come out and who was supposed to bring it on, and all the miscommunications went away like that. For the note-taking, that was mainly during the rehearsal process, such as blocking notations or tech notes, which you'll see in my rehearsal notes. Calling the show was mainly during performances, but before the public performances, me and my lighting crew and sound crew would go through the show and make sure we had every cue down that needed to be there. Moving on to my script, as you can see, it's very sporadic. And I think that has to do with the tempo of the show, with the style being a more vignette type thing, sticking to the more traditional Peanuts comic that's been out since the 60s. So you can see that some pages have a lot of blocking notations, such as Before My Blanketed Me, or little to no blocking notations, such as the song Snoopy. And that's mainly because there are either a bunch of things happening at once, or there's one thing happening and all the focus is on that one thing. I found it easier to have the blocking notations on the adjacent page rather than the actual script, because when I was calling the show, it was a lot easier for me to find my lighting cues and follow along to the show when the blocking notes were on the opposite page. One thing that I would change about my script is having a stage plot on all pages instead of just a couple, because I think that would have been easier for me to visualize where actors are entering, exiting, their pathways, etc., etc. So that is one thing that I would change about it. Moving on to my rehearsal notes, you'll see that they're very simple. They're very easy to understand. And I think that has to do with the director's concept of it being such a childlike show, and the director wanting to stick to the more traditional comics look and style. So I kind of took my own spin on that and made everything more direct and simpler to understand, so people wouldn't have to go searching through rehearsal notes to find what they needed. The rehearsal notes were updated by myself and my three assistant managers. There was my costume manager who kept up with all of the costume notes, a props manager who kept up with all the prop notes, and the sound manager who kept up with the music and tempo and things. They were updated every day after every rehearsal and posted on a public platform for everyone to see. Moving on to the props list, you can see that this is a very prop heavy show, and that kind of also adds to the director's concept of keeping it to the more traditional look of things. This was kept up by myself, my props assistant manager, and the props crew lead. We would constantly have communication flowing between us two to make sure that we had everything that we needed, or it was entering where it was supposed to, etc., etc. Moving on to the calendar, as you can see, this is also a very simple document. This was mainly for the cast members, so they would know what we were rehearsing what day and what they needed if we were doing choreography or just blocking, or if we were doing rehearsals during class rather than after school. This was updated by myself and the director, and if there was a change that needed to be made, such as a school-wide event such as homecoming, as you can see, that change was made immediately, and the public format was updated so everyone knew that we didn't have rehearsal homecoming night. The director's concept definitely influenced mainly my rehearsal notes and my calendar, as you can see, because she wanted to keep the more childlike approach to the show. So with my rehearsal notes, as you can see, they're very simple looking. yes, they still have all of the important details that they need and they're kept up with very often, but they're easier to look at and they're easier to understand. Along with the calendar, there was nothing that was hard to understand. Everyone knew if they were called, everyone knew what time we had rehearsal. So this traditional approach to the childlike show definitely seeped into my rehearsal notes. Thank you.